Hi, my name is Patrick and I want to talk to you about my assignment 3. So, for assignment 3, we were given two company. We need to decide which one is the better one. As you can see, this is the company we decide. This is just the background of each company. We're going to judge them now by profitability. So, profitability will have return on equity, return on assets, gross profit margin, and profit margin. What is return on equity? You might ask. Return on equity is the generation of income based on the share that the company had. So, is the company using its share efficiently or not? As you can see, company one did a better job on doing so, doing more efficiently. And we're going to go to return on assets. Return on assets is the same thing with return on equity, but instead of shareholder, we're going to do with assets. As you can see, also, company one did a lot better than company two. Next, we're going to go to gross profit margin. So the gross profit margin is the total of cost of goods sold divided by the revenue. So what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What does that explain? That explain that how much is the cost actually affects the whole revenue. As you can see, company one has less percentage than company two. That means company one did a lot better. Let's go next to the profit margin. What is the difference between gross profit and profit margin? So the profit margin is the profit after all of that has been cut out. How many of the profit contained after all the expense and the tax comes? As you can see, company one has 3.4 and 3.5, but company two went down a little bit on 2021, went down by almost half by 2021. So as you can see, company one is a better choice. Assets efficiency. What is assets efficiency? You might ask. It's contained by a few things. First, it's assets turnover. What is assets turnover? It's the effectiveness of the business to use its asset to do to generate income. As you can see, assets turnover has on company one is much higher. So that means company one is much better. Next, time inventory turnover and days inventory. What does that mean? The times is how many times they turn over their inventory for the business to run, and days is basically how many days they require to turn over the inventory. As you can see here, company one do a lot worse than company two because of company one only do 6 times, so that means the day 60 days, 58 days. But company two, on the other hand, is doing 9 times, 8 times per year. So that says the days is 40 to 43. Next, we go to debtors turnover and days of debtors. So days debtors turnover meaning is how fast and how many times that they can change credit sales into cash. So if you can see here, the company one has 33 and 29.88 on it, but company two have 85 to 98 times. So uh, to be precise in this, company two is doing a lot better. That's because in total wise they are much efficient on collecting the debts. As you can see, on days of debtor require only 4 days to 3 days, but on the other hand, company one requires 10 to 12 days. Next is the credit turnover and days of creditor. What is days of turnover and creditor? So basically, when they pay in credit, how fast can they return the money? As you can see here, company one is doing much better than company two. On the first half, they do a lot worse, but on the second half, they do a lot better. But on company two, they do good and they got better, but not as good as company one. On company one, first it requires only 15 days, become into almost 2 days, but on company two, it requires from 5 days to 6 days into only 5 days. Okay, right now we're gonna talk about liquidity and capital structure. So we're gonna start with current ratio. What is current ratio? It's the liquidity of the business to meet its short-term debt. What did that mean? You say, so can they pay the short-term debt on time? If it's not, that means they're not liquid enough. That means they're going bad. They're going worse than the others. Next, you're gonna do quick ratio. It's the ability to use its reserve cash. What did that mean? Also, like, is it the same? No, it's not because uh, reserve cash usually is tied up for litigation, stuff like that, outside of the business. So as you can see here, both have terrible quick ratio, but company one is doing much better. We go next to debt to assets ratio. Debt to assets ratio is for actually can they pay the debt off with their assets, like the amount of assets needed to pay with their debt. As you can see, company one do a lot better than company two, since company one only requires 60% to 60% of their assets to pay off their debt, but company two on the other hand requires more. They have more assets than debt. They have more debts than assets. And next is debt to equity. So basically, equity is the total equity minus and divided will will divide the debt. So the higher it is, the worse. If the higher the number is, okay, the worst one. Uh, Now we're gonna talk about liquidity and capital structures. So for company one, we're gonna do current ratio on company one and two. So what is current ratio? Current ratio is the liquidity to pay its short-term debt. So uh, as you can see, current ratio is company one does a lot better than company two. N- Next one is quick ratio. It's the ability for them to pay off, to have can they use their reserve cash, how much reserve cash they have. For company one and two, as you can see, both has terrible numbers, but company one has better numbers by slightly, but they are improving, unlike company two where they're stagnant at 0.27. Next is debt to assets ratio. What is debt to assets ratio? Is basically how much will the debt take if they needed to pay with an assets, right? So basically, the company one does a lot better than company two, because the debt only take about 60% of the 6% 60% of their assets, unlike company two. What is debt to equity ratio? Next one, debt to equity ratio is how much debt and divided by equity. So does equity do a lot worse or do they have more equity or more debt? As you can see here, they have more equity than debt, but company two on the other hand has less than company one. So company two is doing better. Interest ratio. So interest ratio is what is the interest to the company's ability to pay off its interest, right? So um, the higher the number, that means they are not efficient, but the lower the number, that means they are having troubles paying off their interest. As you can see here, both are doing really well, but company one is getting more inefficient, or it could be going, but company two could be going better and going worse. It carries more risk on company two. As you can see, company one will do a lot better than company two. Next is which company to invest, the one or the two. Based on my judgment, one. Based on my current judgments, it's going to be one. Let's take a look at the overall scores. Here's the overall scores. As you can see here, company one excel in so many area rather than company two. Well, company on 2021, company one excels in 10 area, while company two only excels in 3 area. My answer will still the same as company one. Why? Even though company two has promising data, but the business has more debt than assets, which means it carry more risk than company one. So I still, and in overall score, company one is much better than company two. In conclusion, based on my opinion, is company one is much a safer choice to invest. Thank you. Thank you for listening. This is Patrick.